Hi, Kareem. Good morning.
Good morning, Leo. How are you?
Great. Thanks for working with me on your piece, Breviary. Do you want to say a word about it?
Um, Only that this is part of a body of music that I've been really interested in a long time, which is the sort of religious hymns and chants from the Syrian Orthodox Church, which aren't very well known, not very well studied, but it's something that I have memories of from my childhood in Syria. And it's been music that I've come back to a number of times and find myself coming back to for inspiration more often. So this piece is rooted in that spirit.
And you make note in the program notes about the performance notes that it should have there's a lot of dynamics that are marked loud, but they should be not overly passionate.
Right,
Um,
right, right. Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing to think about it is more of a chant rather than a kind of a passionate song, and so whatever loudness is there is whoever's doing the chant is doing it to be heard in a large cavernous room and not necessarily to be expressing passion.
I see. I see. Great. Well, why don't we dive in? Um, there's a lot of there's a lot of quarter tones and some colorful notes that I want to make sure are sitting with the right feeling.
Right, right, right. And the other thing to keep track of, and which is something that I've been very interested in, and a few pieces I've written in this genre, is the form and the repetitions, right? And that once you learn the notes, the performer also should really play the form, right? And they should really understand what that means. And maybe it's as simple as, if a part repeats, if a section repeats, you know, don't play it exactly the same way. It should always be, you know something a little bit different, but that's what you, the performer, bring to the table is.
Oh, that's very interesting. I was going to ask you about that straight away since the first section does repeat, but it feels like it already has some variation built into the figures. Um, great. Okay. Well, we can explore that further through the process. I'll see if I can improvise a few things along the way. But
Sure. So I'll mute my mic just to keep the sound.
okay,
And
but feel free if you want to jump in and address some things, go ahead and stop me. As we uh, communicated about before, it's a little bit of work in progress, so don't. It's not. It doesn't need to be a complete performance all the way through.
no problem, no problem.
Sorry about that.
Bravo, bravo. Really beautiful, Leo. Thank you, thank you. It was just very exciting for me to hear. Yeah, it's really coming along. It's really coming along. Um, let me let's go back to the beginning. One thing, 18, 19. So that phrase at at the end of the system, 19 with the dotted eighth and 16th. Sometimes those 16th
Mm-hmm.
sound too close to those dotted 8/16 to 30 seconds, right? So whenever you have that where it's dotted 16th to 32nd, then dotted 8th to 16th notes, make sure that there's more expand, it's more expansive for the dotted 8th and 16th notes. So it should feel a little bit different. Um,
Should it have a little, like, uh, assuming that the chanting nature of this, should it have its own syllable? Should it be like a, or sort of, should it be in a smoother gesture?
well, it's more about like, if you look at the beginning of 18, um, those 30-second notes are quicker, so it's like a vocal melisma, that very quickness, so yeah, that the last part of it with the dotted eighth to 16th, that could almost feel like a little bit like you have to get a part of a syllable in there, think of it that way, so it needs to feel not as quick, and I think that that'll also help with the sort of sense of decrescendo, right, at the end of that C, that it's like it's the same shape but it's slower, so I think whenever that contrast, I think, is pretty important. um it's always hard to tell about certain things on Zoom, uh but so in the system that's 12, right, that begins at bar 12, um where there's that open G string that's below, whenever that phrase comes with the open G string, um, always put more pressure on the upper string, and the open G should be there, but not as heavy. Remember, it's still piano there, still soft. Um, let's see, the E half flats, once they settled, were really really lovely. And I would say, like, at the phrase at the end of five, that E half flat, um, give it the same love that you would give any other note. Don't be afraid of it. Just, if you're shaping a little vibrato on that F, also give it the same thing. And I know you're waiting to sort of get it. You have to hear it, and you're getting it. You're starting to really get it, I think. But don't be afraid of being as expressive with that. Um, the return, now, here's the tricky part, right? So after the first ending,
Mhm.
when you come back to the beginning, right, to bar one, but also when we come back to bar 97, right, that opening phrase, right, come back to the same mood, the same kind of, so that might mean don't speed up the vibrato more than it was the first time. You know what I mean? Just there's a kind of dignity to it that I think is, just, it's very grounded, and always come back to that feeling. um and I think that'll give us a breath, and then we come back to that section, and we're like, we've heard this before. And but really luxuriate in that beautiful low C string. Um, I had, let me see. So at 30, right? So here finally we hear an E natural, right?
Mhm.
So maybe on that very first one, take just a little more time, like really say, okay, we've moved on past the first one, and we're moving on to a different place. So I think that's important. um 45, 46, 47, even though that's pianissimo, don't cut the G too short, the half note. Make sure that gets its full length, because that's our playing with the theme. That's coming back to the original gesture. So let that breathe. And all of these bar lines, in a way, just because now it's metered a little bit, should be
Mhm.
a little bit more motion. But and you're doing this instinctively. But I mean, feel free to, like, sometimes, if you want to take a little more space, a little more breathing, that can help. Um, as I'm thinking about, like, wow, maybe I should rewrite certain things that I want to hear more of, right? If we go to 15, that system at 15, the very last um, G to A 30-second notes, um, if you want to play that a little bit longer, more of the trill like feel, sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's what's written. um, I think that would be fine.
Okay.
And maybe I'll include something in the score to say, like, feel free to be expansive with this. um,
Can I ask you about those, based on how you sang uh, the dotted eighth sixteenths that we were discussing,
yeah,
uh, like around measure nine, and just, as I was practicing some of these things, like the 30-second note, GAs, I had in my head already, some of my experiences working with, like, Jewish cantors.
yeah, yeah.
If I'm going to play with them, I come in and I have my fingerings all worked out, and I get it to sound like a cello, and then I work with them, and I end up, like, throwing all the fingerings out and basically playing everything with one finger, um, to get the way their voice sounds on a I or something like that. It doesn't sound like it sounds like,
Yeah.
um, how much of that are you looking for? Should I keep that sort of vocal, uh, I don't know what the word is exactly, but
Have that.
discrete
Yeah,
note.
I think that's a perfectly valid variation tool. If that's something that's in your arsenal, then use it. And because that phrase could be both. It could be the trill, and it could be the one finger
Okay.
version, right? And I would expect if a different cellist were to play it and they had a different, you know, group of possibilities in there that are easy for them, then they should do that as well, you know. So in a way it's exact, but it's not exact, you know. And I'm certain if a cellist from Syria or Lebanon or something, you know, came to play this and they knew the traditional style, then they would color it, you know, um, how they feel, you know. And so I think, you know, that was the question: is should I overnotate this or should I kind of leave it enough, you know? And I, you know, I went with the side of enough and not to overnotate something, you know. Um, but this is helpful because, you know, for the final edition, you know, it'd be good to just include these notes, like here are some possibilities that you could do beyond um, these gestures. So this is a good thing to really think about.
Can you speak a little about this next section at D? Um, it
Yeah,
feels it feels a little dancey.
yeah. So I think not as separated, right? You know, it's on the same bow, you know, but I think um you know, some of these chants have these long florid lines, you know, and all of a sudden in the middle there's a B section or a C section that is rhythmic, you know. Um, so it's not meant to be dancey, but it's just a rhythmic contrast, right? I think what you're doing is great. What I would do is maybe just keep it gentler, you know, and in terms of tone, um, you know, not as, you know, I don't want to comment too much because it's really hard to judge what Zoom is actually filtering out. Um,
It was
but I,
perfect on this end.
yeah, what's that? It's, I mean, no, it's great on the, yeah. So I would say just kind of a, you know, it's rhythmic, but it's not necessarily, you know, dance like, you know. It's just think of a more active text, you know.
Okay, that makes great sense. And then the section at E, um, where it starts to get more active.
Right.
Um, as I played through it this time, I was sort of, you know, my internal monologue was saying, I think you let it get too passionate at some of this loud stuff. Um,
Well, so here's how I see this. This section is more is departing a little bit from the original source material, right? It's departing from that language, you know. It's still keeping some of it, but it is kind of a variation form, you know. And I think it requires a little bit of a different color, and in that maybe I mean a mindset, you know. um so it can get passionate because maybe what I'm thinking of this is like, well, the opening and closing sections is the religious leader, the priest or whomever, or the cantor who's doing this, um and this is our personal feelings about these prayers and these thoughts, and sometimes we're passionate, we're desperate for answers or resolution of some kind. So this can be that a little bit more, but when we come back to the opening section, that's what I meant by this groundedness, right? You know, our passion is like found a level.
I see. Okay. And just on a nuts and bolts sort of level,
Yes.
how um, how are the tempos in this middle stuff?
I think the tempos are good. I think the tempos are really good. um the thing that's hard and still needs a little bit of work, which I'm sure you'll get, but it's just, you know, when you don't know these and you're not hearing them yet, the G half sharp at 58, 59, 59.
Oh,
um Yeah, so what you have to think of that's a leading tone to the A, but it's low, right? It's and so it's higher than a G, but lower than a G sharp, right? But it wants to go to the A.
I totally put down the wrong finger right there. Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that.
It's okay.
It still matters. But yeah, that's helpful to think about it like a leading tone. Um,
So one way to practice, so the section at 61
mhm.
to through basically 71, 72. Um, that's me pushing the bounds a little bit more, right? So there's on the oud, there's a particular maqam, and it's sung and it's played by other instruments where the whole scale is tuned to a different quarter tone tuning, but the open string is not, right? And so it's a very unique sound. It's a very kind of folk sound. It's not part of the classical repertoire. Um, so maybe the way to practice that um, is so what D sharp here is to play all of the Fs and the Gs and the Cs and the Ds and the B half flat um, as natural notes, right? Then shift them up a quarter step. You know what I mean? Just know where they are as naturals, then shift them up so that they're consistent to that in relation to the open A string. You know, that might be a way to sort of really begin to hear it, because this is harder. You have to hear it in context of the whole thing, the whole scale, and so that becomes quite difficult, I think. Um, I would like to request a change
Of course.
um, at 71.
Hmm.
Um, let's make that meno forte, right, and just softer, and then begin the decrescendo at 72 a little bit earlier.
Okay.
So not quite as.
So should it start maybe from the top note?
That sounds good. Yeah, actually, that relation to the A string sounds beautiful. That's really nice. I like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then 73 we have these sort of two like exclamation points. Um, can you tell me a little bit about them?
Yeah, so here we're leaving that scale behind, and there are a few kind of markers of like where this maqam is going, or where I'm playing with it. I'm toying with tradition, but moving into, this kind of stuck between these two worlds, and so each one of these is an arrival point. Um, at the end of what I'm envisioning as this kind of longer type of scale. Um, so I think they're just kind of moments to reset, you know.
Great. Yep. Excellent. And then we have this. I imagine the stringendo section that we are coming to now at G should probably get rolling a little bit more.
Yeah. I think your ultimate goal with that is you're building towards H, and I think yeah that should just feel. Here is where we can depart a little bit from the kind of stability of communal religious singing. You know what I mean? Here is maybe a plea, and we're getting just getting a little bit, not necessarily anxious, but building towards something, and then maybe the plea finally comes in at 89 at letter H.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's how I would think about it. And I think the at H, the piano subito, maybe the teneramento can happen gradually, right? That maybe that arrival is just cold, and then slowly you're adding a
Okay.
warmth to it, you know. And then I will make a note in my score.
And warm it up. Um, yeah, this section, uh, as I was thinking about it, it feels like um, it could either really have a sort of suspended feeling,
Hmm.
or it could kind of flow in waves, flow in sort of each one being its own gesture, and then start a new gesture.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Could I hear both? Do you mind?
yeah, yeah, of course. Um, so if it was just cold, it might just stay, or not cold, but suspended, it might just stay. Just sort of stay as a suspended kind of feeling. Or I was imagining it could be also be something like it's like sort of to tie a few of them together into a rise and fall.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're both very beautiful, and I don't know if I can choose right now.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
then
I,
we can work on that later.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I think, but ultimately, coming back to this groundedness, slowly, and that's why that E half flat is really important, because it's going to bring us back into that hearing the opening section again coming up. Great. And I'm wondering if I might want to extend your 123,
Uh-huh.
make that a little bit longer. I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, that would be great. More Morando is one of my favorite markings to begin with.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good one. It's a good one. I murmur and mumble
yeah.
a fair amount. So,
I am accused of that as well. No, no,
um,
that would be it's it's fun.
great, great. Yeah. So I think it's really coming along beautifully. Is there anything you'd like me to change, or is there anything that isn't clear from my end and the score?
No, no, no. I mean, nothing that we didn't cover today. Although, before we wrap up, I wonder if I might just start one of the chanting, like A sections again, not at the beginning, and see if I can find the sound. And you let me know if that's if that has
Sure.
sort of gravity. Like maybe I could just start 97.
Yeah, that's great.
C strings are so uncooperative. Sorry. Let me try that one more time. Something like that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that gesture at 101, the 30-second note triplets, that should be just very quick again, melismatic. Yeah, um, I think that'll come in time. Yeah, more along that line. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no problem. It's the only time that figure sort of that shape gets figured that way. So it felt like,
Yeah.
oh, I can live in this for a second, but no, I'll keep it moving. Um,
Uh,
okay, and this kind of a vibrato, like something that would fill up a room but isn't full of heat.
could you try the first note without that much, and then the second note with a little more?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the groundedness. Is the first one is just without that vibrato, and then the second one, it gets always gets added gradually, and it's not wait until the end. Could you try that one more time?
Of course.
Even on that second phrase, da da dee da, wait to add the vibrato until late. Just I think the opening section. Try this where on every after every rest and you start a note, don't add vibrato right away. Just a little bit first without vibrato.
Okay.
Okay, good. One more little fine tuning thing.
Yeah.
Bless you. Bless you. Right, right. The phrase right before 110, which repeats earlier, beginning on that F. That F should have the beginning of it very little vibrato, and then still while you're on that F, then add it. Not. I didn't mean to wait until the next beat, but just each note should be shaped where it begins.
Like that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing is, to think about, this older priest, who doesn't have the best voice, I mean, not that I want you to get a bad sound, but just the it just, the vibrato just kind of adds gradually, um, but yeah, that would be something to experiment with is different types of vibrato and trying to figure it out. But definitely the opening and closing sections should have a very different type of vibrato than that middle section, and I think it's really important to find what you like for a contrast between those two colors. I think that'll make a big difference.
Great. Excellent.
Thank you so much, Leo. What a treat.
Thank you for taking some time with me, and thank you for the gift of this piece. And I look forward to whatever changes you're going to make.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you, Leo. Have a great
Great.
rest of your day.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Bye bye.